Assalamu alaikum jami'an. Hello and a very warm welcome to the BrandZ Top 30 Emirati and Saudi ranking. I'm Fran Owens, CCO with Kantar UAE and your host today. Amazon, Google, Apple, Alibaba, all incredible brands, all successful brands, all strong brands. BrandZ data demonstrates unequivocally strong brands are meaningfully different to consumers. They weather the storm of recession better than weak brands, they bounce back faster, and they're globally more resilient. But while everyone wants to build successful brands, success, it's not always so easy to come by. The top 30 ranking comes at a pivotal time for brands in this region, because having a strong brand is one of the most valuable assets any business can have. So let's take a look at what's ahead of us. Today, David Roth, CEO of the store and chairman of BrandZ, will share his thoughts on the fusion of technology and creativity and how this powerful mix can be curated to turbocharge brands. Doreen Wang, Global Head of BrandZ and CEO of Kantar China, will take us through the key lessons learned from the global top 100 brands to build resilience post-pandemic, and the implications this holds for Emirati and Saudi Arabian brands. We will explore a number of key themes emerging from the ranking. We will look at the consumer, technology, and market forces behind the data, and we'll shine a spotlight on some of the best performing brands. Industry practitioners leading some of the most exciting and upcoming brands in the region will share their thoughts on those themes and indeed what's been fueling their success. We will reveal the top 30 brands that have made the ranking, who the top 3 winners are, and indeed what they've been doing to merit this. Our keynote speaker, Nigel Hollis, Kantar's Chief Global Brand Analyst, will show us the disruptive strategies that are required to future-proof brand growth. And we will then see which brands have beaten others to the post in the much-coveted awards section. So an action-packed session is in store. Make sure you have your coffee in hand as we now go to Kantar's Amol Gatay, CEO of the Middle East Insights Division, and we start the BrandZ Top 30 Emirati and Saudi ranking.
Good morning everyone, and a very warm welcome to you all, and a big thanks for joining us on this momentous day as we launch the inaugural Emirati and Saudi BrandZ Top 30 Most Valuable Brands. Over the last 15 years, the BrandZ Top 100 Most Valuable Global Brand Study provides the marketing community with an annual, robust, and validated assessment of the value created by the top brands from around the world. I'm truly proud to be able to bring this prestigious ranking to the Middle East region in this, our first Emirati and Saudi brands report. Why are we going to be spending time talking about brands? Because businesses are built around brands. Think about what would P&G be without Tide, or a Unilever without Dove. Let's take Dove for example. It embodies a core promise, which is a beautiful blend of simple, functional, and higher-order emotional aspects. It not only provides consumers a clear and precise reason to buy the brand, it also provides Unilever a clear template to all the choices and decisions that they make for the brand. Brands also provide clarity and guidance for choices made by companies, consumers, investors, and other stakeholders. Marketers are always questioned on what is the ROI for the marketing investment that they're plowing in. We all know that brands are powerful assets, but they're also intangible assets, and it's not very easy to prove their worth. Brand valuation is a metric that quantifies that worth. It enables brand owners, the investment community, and others to evaluate and compare brands and make faster and better informed decisions. BrandZ is the only brand valuation tool that peels away all the financial and other components of brand value and gets to the core, gets to the heart of it. That is how much brand alone contributes to corporate value. This core, what we call brand contribution, differentiates BrandZ, and it comes from extensive primary quantitative research with consumers about their views on brands. When we bring this study today to you, we have spoken to more than 12,000 consumers across the UAE and Saudi, capturing their feedback on 343 brands across 19 categories. That's the scale of BrandZ. UAE and Saudi, of course, two of the largest economies in the region, are also home to some of the leading local brands in the region. When I came to this region around a decade back, well, it was a different world then, I was really amazed to see how well entrenched many of these brands were in the daily lives of consumers. Whether it was Almarai, Emirates, and they've given global brands a run for their money over the years. Many of them have been part of the social fabric for decades now. And the recipe to their success has been that they have adapted well to the economic, social, and technological changes that the region has witnessed. And there have been massive changes. We are also seeing new and upcoming brands challenging the status quo, leveraging technology and offering customized solutions to address existing consumer tensions better. All this does make for challenging yet exciting times to be a brand builder. And we are confident that today, in this inaugural Emirati and Saudi BrandZ Top 30 Most Valuable Brands session, we shall be able to provide you with some answers to how the most successful brands are navigating these dynamic times. I've been asked by many, why launch BrandZ in such a disruptive year? And my answer has always been, why not? What better time than now? Now is not the time to fly blind. Brand building has never been more important than during a crisis. If anything, we've learned from the past, it is that strong brands tend to recover from a crisis and cover lost ground 9 times faster than weaker brands. Yes, you got me right there, 9 times faster. The pandemic will end. The world will move on into the next normal. And the brands that remain meaningfully different to consumers and amplified that difference by investing in the brand will be there to reap the benefits during the recovery. Today, we'll be revealing the top 30 brands in UAE and Saudi. We'll be celebrating some of their achievements and sharing with you the broad principles that have underpinned these brands' success. And we'll also be hearing from our global speakers on some of the learnings from brands around the world. So I hope you find this session informative and engaging. And without further ado, let me hand you over to David, who's going to talk about the fusion of technology and creativity and how this potent combination can turbocharge brands. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Amal. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I would have much preferred to have been with you in person in both the UAE and in Saudi Arabia. I've had the privilege of being in both countries in the past and look forward to returning as soon as possible. On behalf of WPP and BrandZ, I'm delighted that today sees the launch of the first BrandZ UAE and Saudi Most Valuable Brands. It's fitting that we add this to our suite of BrandZ valuations, a methodology acknowledged world over as the definitive way of valuing a brand. This is a fast-growing and dynamic region set for impressive growth. It's essential that the value created by great UAE and Saudi brands is calculated. It's vital that we recognise those who've had the vision to create, nurture and grow strong brands in the region and support those who are now on the same path. Creating value by developing meaningfully different, strong, valuable and responsible brands in the region is good for consumers, economies, businesses, employment and shareholders alike. Our 5.2 billion individual data points within BrandZ and our analysis of them proves categorically right across the world that the BrandZ strong brand value share portfolio outperforms market indices and delivers superior shareholder value. Spending both time and resources in building brands is not a cost, but an investment with significant returns. I'd like to leave you with this thought. Whilst it's true that creating strong, valuable brands delivers returns, the question is how best to do this in a changing world. We've seen more digital acceleration in the past few months than we've ever seen. Our event today is just one example. We're all more reliant on technology for the running of our individual daily lives than we ever have been, and this is set to grow as we move faster to a voice-enabled artificial intelligence and IoT world. But technology in brand building is a means and not an end. It's the power of building strong brands with the potent fusion of creativity and technology that will generate and turbocharge new levels of brand value growth. Using the power to envision and create new unique propositions, ways of reducing friction for consumers and helping make our customers' lives better, driving creative transformation. My congratulations to every one of the brands that are in the 2020 rankings. My thanks to the Kantar teams for their hard work and dedication in the ranking analysis. To WPP and Kantar colleagues for creating this event and the brand building insights that you can read and learn from in the report that accompanies our launch. Thank you very much indeed for your time. It's much appreciated.
Hi everyone, greeting from China. Lovely to be with you. We are very proud to release the top 30 Emirati and the Saudi most valuable brands. As you know that we are valuing and researching over 170,000 brands over the past 10 years. Winning any BrandZ award is statistically more difficult than winning the Academy. So congratulations for winning the Oscar of marketing.
So today I'd like to share with you some key lessons we have learned from the global top 100 most valuable brands on how to build strong brands in the post-pandemic era. What a year, everyone. The coronavirus drew many newcomers to e-commerce. We have met with many of the CEOs and CMOs, so most of the business are upgrading their e-commerce and O2O strategy. 70% of the consumers worldwide claim that their income are being negatively impacted by COVID. Price sensitivity has increased. Value shopping is increasing. Experience become more important than ownership. Buying local, endorsing local brands moved from a sustainability practice to mainstream. Anti-globalization adds another layer of difficulty to global business leaders. Brands have an opportunity to be the counterpoint to despair. Without ignoring the difficulties, brands are expected to remind people the problem worth solving, the life worth living. Brands are entering the era of public. On June the 30th, we released the global top 100 most valuable brands on CNBC and many of the top media. The total value of the top 100 brands have reached $5 trillion. The number looks big. It's bigger than the country GDP of Japan. 100 brands, its value is larger than the third largest economy in the world. We really hope to see more of the Emirati and the Saudi Arabian brands on this list soon. What impresses most is that despite the pandemic, the total value of the top 100 did not decline. It grew by 6%. Again and again, strong brands across categories prove to be more resilient to the extreme stress. As we shared at NASDAQ at UK Parliament, strong brands generate superior shareholder returns. BrandZ Global Top 100 brands outperform S&P 500 by a massive 43%, outperform MSCI by 4 times. Now we are in the middle of the pandemic and the economic crisis. Let's look at the last crisis year, 08 and 09. Both strong brands and average brands dropped its share price, but it only took strong brands half a year to recover versus average brands 4.5 years to recover. So message of this year, 2020, brand building is not cost. It is the most important investment to ensure long-term, sustainable business growth. Strong brands makes your business more resilient and will recover faster than the market. So how to build strong brands in the post-pandemic world? What are the key lessons learned from the global top 100 brands? So lesson number 1, now is the time to build brand resilience. The size is no guarantee of future growth. Brands of any size either grew or declined. And in the current global context, the changes are just as volatile as ever. Big brands without efficient brand building efforts, their decline will doom to happen. Especially now, both Generation Z and the Millennials expect the brands to be an example to help us to reduce anxiety and guide the change. For example, luxury brands. Would you please design more fashionable COVID masks? Strong brands must keep executing their purpose and delivering the meaningful innovations to build resilience for your business and for the society. And now for the business leaders, we must use 2 hands. One hand to drive demand and the other hand to protect the profit. In the recessionary time, protecting the business from a squeeze on margin is critical. 45% of the margin is driven by being meaningful to the consumers, meeting emotional and functional needs. 49% of the margin is driven by being different from the competitors and setting new trends. Lululemon is a great example. Increases its value by a massive 40% by focusing on at-home yoga occasion with great product quality. So almost all the business leaders start to ask themselves this very strategic question: at which stage my brand is currently at? Is it product brand, or occasion brand, or ecosystem brand? Each level has great successful examples. Product brand level. Estee Lauder changed its focus to make up for younger generations, millennium, and increase its value by a significant 16%. At the occasion brand level, Netflix owning the evening in occasion, which is accelerated by COVID lockdowns. Moutai, the #1 alcohol brand in China, extending its ownership of gifting occasion, targeting more festivals, more consumers with more variants. Tech giants are entering the 3rd level. For example, Haier, the largest home appliance company worldwide, empowering many entrepreneurs and their own employees, expanding its occasions together with the consumer's footprint, and developing themselves into a true ecosystem brand. The 3rd lesson: when the time is tough, companies get back to the basics. Trust and sustainability are back to the table of the board. So traditionally, consumers trusted established brands based on 2 factors: expert reliability, you are doing it well and doing it reliably and consistently over time. The second is corporate responsibility, not abusing your size and scale, looking after the environment, the society, your employees, and your supply chain. In the recent couple of years, the rapid disruption of exciting new brands inspires a new equation of trust. 3 I's: identification, caring for customers, integrity, open and honest, and inclusion. Treats everyone with respect as equals. So the new equation of trust and sustainability are laying the foundation for companies to bounce back. Many experts say, a year like this, survive then thrive. I disagree. Survive itself is thrive. E-commerce and O2O provide startup companies with tremendous opportunities to enter the market. Tech giants are expanding their ecosystem. So who are going to face the biggest challenge? The shoulder level brands, the mid-tier companies will face the biggest challenges. survive itself is thrive. Improving operational and marketing efficiency to drive both short-term and long-term sales is the key for success.
I'll hand over now to Aruna Rajaram to take us through what it really takes to win in these markets. Aruna leads our brand domain in UAE. She is a core member of the BrandZ report, and prior to Kantar has sat client-side with global giant Unilever.
Good morning, everyone. It's truly an honor and a privilege for me to be with you today, albeit virtually, as we unveil the first BrandZ Top 30 Most Valuable Emirati and Saudi Brands ranking. There are 5 key themes that have emerged based on our extensive consumer research that shares the opinions of over 12,000 people across more than 300 brands in 19 different categories and of course across these 2 markets. So what are successful brands doing differently? How are they appealing to existing and potential consumers and making a difference in their lives? How are they navigating these 2 unique and diverse markets? And what is it that makes consumers choose a specific brand more often and even pay a premium for that?
Analyzing our large database of brand readings, we see that the most valuable brands are highly meaningful, different, and salient. Before we move on, let me elaborate these dimensions a bit more. A brand can achieve meaning either by delivering a relevant functional brand promise or having an emotional connect, and thereby meeting consumer needs. A brand can be different by having a brand promise that is unique to the category or by being ahead of the curve in setting trends. And salience is how readily and quickly the brand comes to the mind of the consumer when they think that category. Meaningfully different brands, when properly amplified, encourage consumers to buy the brand more and pay a premium for it. We have looked at brands that have strong equity in the minds of the consumers and compared them to brands that don't. That has led us to arrive at these 5 themes that are enablers of success to win in these 2 markets. The first theme from our analysis is all about closeness with the consumer. We recognize that being meaningful is the most important factor in brand choice of our markets. And connecting to the right audience in the right way is an ask for every brand. And that's where local brands have an advantage. As we can see on the top right quadrant on the chart here, markets where there are strong local brands at play, we tend to see a higher meaning. They are closer to the culture and the consumer and therefore are able to strike a chord with them. There are 3 ways brands can resonate with consumers. Respecting cultural sensitivities and local cultural nuances is an absolute essential to win over these consumers. For example, in our market, collectivism and respect for elders is given immense importance, and they are rooted in our culture, and brands cannot afford to ignore the same. Similarly, championing local pride is another way of winning in the market, and brands having rich heritage and stature in the market are able to do so credibly. Another way brands have driven meaning is at the grassroots level by enabling the larger community, giving them opportunities to thrive and flourish. And it is not that consumers are accepting of only local brands that manage these tenets. When global brands are able to manage these nuances and are able to recognize the culture and the consumer, consumers in this region are open and have embraced and accepted them as well. We had the privilege of chatting with Mr. Essam Mohammed, VP Marketing and Product Management at Saudia, about how they are getting it right and what are they doing to connect with their consumers. Let's hear it from him to know more.
Saudi is a key pillar of the nation. We're a heritage brand. This year, we celebrate our 75th anniversary. We are serving multi-consumers within the nation, Saudis and non-Saudis, and we understand our consumer and our consumer needs. Saudi, the customers are at the heart of what we do and how we plan and how we make our decisions. We provide a seamless and enjoyable travel experience infused with the Saudi heritage. At the core of what we do is we provide meaningful innovation to our customers. We want to make sure that all our customers have the seamless, enjoyable journey that we strive to provide. Consumer data and understanding is at the heart of what we do. A great journey for us, understanding our consumer needs and the changing market dynamics has helped us develop our brands to where it is today. A company that interaction with our customers across the multiple touch points and the personalized experience is what makes us closer to our customers and provides the unique experience. Saudia is a unique brand. We serve multi-segments, multi-sectors. We work with government. We work with private citizens. We work with government. We work with the private sector. We've got the religious travel. We have the domestic travel, international travel. So in that sense, our understanding on the market we serve is so complicated, and we interact directly with the consumer. So across the multiple touch points that we have, we serve the customer, we interact with the customer. So that takes a different approach and a different strategy than any other companies. Saudi is very proud to be a key enabler and a global ambassador for Vision 2030. Tourism is the heart of the vision. The country's goal is to achieve 10% GDP from tourism and to attract 30 million pilgrims. And Saudi will be the driver to achieve these numbers. We are working closely with various ministries to achieve this goal, such as Ministry of Hajj and Umrah, Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Culture, and Giga projects. To do all of this, we have to establish the Saudi brand globally. Key to win in Saudi is similar to any other market, is understanding your customer. The Saudi customer is unique, they're proud of their heritage, they're dynamic, they're well versed, they're looking for the change. They're looking for brands that drive, brands that have purpose, brands that provide meaningful innovation, brands that bring value to them. Saudi have to continue driving meaningful innovation while embracing the Saudi culture.
In a rapidly changing environment where consumers are now more exposed to the global stage, brands can no longer be operating as status quo. They need to think out of the box, and they need to think of newer ways, not just to innovate, but even to renovate and evolve with the consumer. And hence, gone are the days of business as usual. And that's where we found our second enabler of success. In our markets, one brand that is breaking the shackles of business as usual through an innovative use of technology is Kafoo. We have seen that brands that start by being different will benefit in the long run by helping more people to see the relevance of their proposition. While Kafoo is a great example of being disruptive and innovative, if you look at the broader BrandZ top 30 Emirati and Saudi brands, we see that we as a market are average compared to other markets like China and the US that are leading the way here. Improving perceptions of innovation is a significant opportunity for brands to drive brand value growth and to connect with consumers. Let's hear the journey of Kafoo and how the brand has managed to shake things up from the CMO of Kafoo, Claire Archer.
Kafoo was created, it was the brainchild of our founder and CEO, Rashid Al-Gharer. And really it was as a result of him looking around him. He could see queues at petrol stations and he thought, why? Why is this still happening? It's one of the few industries that really hasn't evolved over the years. If you look at other industries, the mobile phone industry, smartphone penetration, retail, e-commerce, restaurants, food delivery, everything has evolved. But car ownership, and in particular how you deliver your food, how you get your fuel, really hasn't evolved over the years. And so that's how Kafoo started. And his passion for technology, married with that initial idea, was the founding principle behind Kafoo. But our vision really is to reimagine the future and to really understand how we can take car ownership to the next level, how we can make the lives of our customers easier by being simpler and using smart technology to really give them back time and help their lives be simpler and smarter. So we started off with fuel delivery, and we now offer car wash. We have several other products that we're going to soon launch. But really our vision is to help make people's lives simpler and to take the hassle out of car ownership, make it more enjoyable. At Cafu, we're simply focused on our customers and what it takes to make their lives better. I think even with a disruptive offering, that's not enough on its own. You really need to have disruptive thinking within the business. And at Cafu, we try to empower everyone to think big, to think transformational, and to really try and re-envision the future and how we can do more. An industry or a product and offering that is so new and so disruptive that the category doesn't even exist. The challenges of marketeer is much harder. You have a lot more messages to get across, and so it's even more important to stay focused and keep the communication simple. I think at Cafu, innovation is all about finding new and creative ways to make the lives of our customers better. It's not just good enough to have products and services that are innovative. You need to really think big and think about how to solve problems that maybe don't exist yet. And at Cafu, innovation is in our bloodstream. It's in everything we do. COVID has been incredibly tough, and as a business, I think what sets you apart and what really pushes businesses and brands to succeed is how you can differentiate yourself and how you can really understand what your customers' needs are. During the lockdown, during COVID, we took a step back and we tried to really feel what was the needs of our customers, how was their lives changing, and how did we need to adapt as a business. And that's why we launched free delivery. So it's a very bold business decision. It's strategic, it's not a promotional one-off. This is a long-term strategy. And it's really to give people more time and more money. They don't want to pay for the petrol delivery. So it's been a huge success. I think the main thing that I would recommend all businesses do is continue to innovate and to try and instill that disruptive thinking in your business, and to always constantly question your decisions and ask yourselves, what more can I do for my customer?
A nice learning there for brands. It is not just about marketing a product. It is actually about imbibing the philosophy for the consumers and also within the organization. Moving on to the next enabler of success, getting online is just half the story. In the pre-COVID era, digital and digitization and being online was on the agenda for the C-suite team in every organization. And with the pandemic setting in, the agenda became a reality and was an active pursuit for all brands alike. We know that our markets have high level of connectivity and much higher usage of smartphones, and heavy users of online platforms compared to the rest of the world. Despite this, brands are still falling short on providing a better online experience, which is much more relevant in today's time where contactless payments, online access, and e-commerce are becoming rampant game changers. But the brand's task doesn't end at just providing better online experience. Consumers live in the virtual and the real world alike, and the consumer journey is a blend of both online and offline world. It is about providing a seamless experience in both the online and offline world. Let's hear it from a brand that faces this challenge on a daily basis and understand how they are trying to address it.
In the region. Karim is all about simplifying and improving the lives of people. So Karim, we envision to improve and simplify the lives of people and make them free of hassle that they probably face on a daily basis. Let them save time and focus on what matters in their own life. So that could be their family, that could be their leisure time, that could be even making money for themselves. That's one thing. I mean, imagine in the future, in the very near future, I think we're gonna have hundreds of different companies offering the services on our super app, being delivery, being shops, being pharmacies with groceries, home repair, laundry, you name it. And through that cooperation, we provide them with access to our broad range of fundamental services, including pay, rewards program, as well as getting access to a large customer base. At the same token, they also promise to provide a best-in-class, reliable service to our customers. So it's like hand in hand, a joint cooperation to solve the people's life problem. If you look at the region, still a big portion, by far the majority of actual daily activities of people happen offline. There's still a lot happening offline. That's also the case globally, but specifically in this region, I think the portion of offline versus online is still larger. And our mantra is to simplify and improve the life of people, right? If that's the case, and the majority of people's life happening offline, on the ground, if we believe we want to solve their pain points, we need to be offline. So we should have two arms. On one side, we have a digital arm. That's where our app development improvement is happening. A lot of our customer care is happening in digital. On the other side, we also pretty much, let's say, veil services in an offline world to our operational forces, to our care agents on the ground. So our vision is to integrate offline and online in a way that we can simplify people's lives. To integrate, to merge the offline and online world in a way that we can offer the best quality, reliable service to our customer. And we're going to go as far as it takes to be able to offer that quality service.
Moving on to the next theme, purpose is not necessarily about big CSR initiatives. It is not necessarily about saving the planet. It can be small steps and efforts that help in making lives better for consumers. And these brands that strive to make people's lives better at their heart are able to grow 2.5 times more than other brands. There are different facets of purpose. Brands can be purposeful by ensuring they improve people's lives either through their products or their services. For example, by helping people lead a healthy lifestyle. Or it can be about offering them convenience so that they can focus on important things in life. Lastly, brands can also be purposeful by taking on a higher platform of greater collective good. Helping the society or being an enabler for nation's progress are some examples of our greater good. I would now like to introduce you to two such brands that are working towards building a strong purpose.
First and foremost, commitment. Whenever you have commitment, you're going to achieve and reach for the goal what you have. Plenty of times you have a purpose, you have a great purpose. If you work on it and deliver it, it's going to benefit the society and the country and the market. But most of the times, people tend to get tired. Maybe they see some obstacles, so they drop shyly. Yeah. This is where they lose the momentum. Once we have commitment, once you have people buy in into the purpose, so it's not a chief's buy-in of the purpose, it's an organizational buy-in of the purpose. Once you have everyone aligned internally, you're going to have the people as ambassadors. You trust your people, they're going to be committed, this is going to generate trust, and hence the purpose, it's going to be developed and reached. By saying we're in the region to facilitate lives and make things easier for our customers. This is where we started. This is how we see ourselves, and this is where we see ourselves moving forward. So we're a facilitator. We provide solutions. This is how we see our purpose. So we make lives easier. We always aim higher in facilitating things and making things closer to you, wherever you are, and facilitates the process. So coming from this purpose, when you have one objective in mind, which is making things easier or bringing things closer together with an easy step, this is why we are here. So we respect a lot our competition, we respect a lot the market, but in order to elevate the market, in order to elevate the competitive advantage between all of us, this is the route that we chose to best service our target audience and best service the society we're in and contribute to it. Company in the Eastern Province, moving to a unicorn company, which generates millions and billions of a very long and enticing journey that started with the founders who had a great run. They're building Hunger Station as a brand. First of all, we started with a name that's not Arabic, so yeah. Hunger Station, but it resembles hunger. All of us understand what hunger means. Hunger is, and this is what we had in our DNA and backbone. When we say hunger, it's hungry for food, it's hungry for knowledge, it's hungry for any other vertical that you think of, hungry for electronics, hungry for car, hungry for sharing knowledge. This is where Hunger Station started and had its DNA. This is where we're moving forward. So from food to plenty of other verticals. Now we have pharmacies, we have groceries, we have flowers, we have a quick market, which is our dark store, and plenty of others that are coming across the way. So there are future developments also heading and awaiting us. In our organization, each one of us, now we're over 800 employees in the company. So each one of the 800 sees the purpose as a individual purpose, corporate purpose, and societal purpose. So okay. Split across the three spectrums, this is what supports us in reaching the final purpose of the company. So on an individual purpose, each one of us tries to learn, adapt, and cope with the status quo and develop the skills in order to service the purpose. In the company, we try to expand our services. We try to enhance our services. There's always the trigger that triggers us to move forward and enhance our services. So this is on a corporate level. This is where we always try to enhance our skills and our offerings towards our end purpose, which is the facilitation or the enhancement of the life cycle. And within this societal or within the market, what's our value added? What did we do to the society? How can we contribute to the society? This is always a question on the rise. So it's not a one day like today we answered it and it's done for forever. No, it's on a daily quest that we keep on answering this question and challenging the answer. So maybe last week's answer is not working today. And this is what keeps us moving forward.
Look, consumers today interact with brands, and if they don't interact with brands, they really have nothing to do except consuming. And for us, we believe that interaction is very key. Interaction is a very great mean of feedback. This is how we continuously develop ourselves. And believe me, customers today are savvy, they're wisdom, they see what's happening abroad, and they will not be fooled with brands that only focus on consumption, but more or less have real values that they stand up to and purposes that they take their brands. Gives us more horizons to think, to innovate, and be better. As a technical company, a lot of people know and believe that the amount of technology, infrastructure we build do mean a lot in terms of numbers. How many kilometers of fiber optics, of copper, how many towers we build. But at the end of the day, really, our essence is how many people manage to utilize our services by studying, taking online courses, using it as startups. They use social platforms to sell their ideas or products. These are the real effects, positive ones, that at the end of the day enriches people's life that we see. So all of these combined create our personality that continuously push us to be the best we could be. purpose is in STC is a major element in who we are. It really defines who we are, and what we do is a key element in defining the personality of any organization that will allow customers, stakeholders, and society to engage more, respect, and want to be part of these programs that this entity works around. And this really starts with your internal community, your staff, their families, whom will take these messages also to their communities as well. Very essential to make sure that we're not persuaded by titles or nice words, glamorous words, but we are really walking the talk. We play a very pivotal role in the development of digitization in Saudi Arabia. We don't see ourselves anymore as, and this is part of our their strategy, we don't see ourselves anymore as a telco provider. We are actually a digital enabler, and this puts a lot of emphasis on our role as not only a national flagship in what we do, but also as adds to our purpose as a brand and wherever we are.
Our last theme, but certainly not the least, is about diversity. Diversity is not a buzzword, but an agenda that is consciously being followed in the kingdom. Her story is of immense transformation across decades. From being a spectator on the sidelines, witnessing changes around her, she has become the focal point and flag bearer of that change. That has resulted in changing her role, her aspirations, and her interactions with the world. And brands which are able to acknowledge this change and evolve with her are able to win her trust. We are seeing some of the banking brands that are catering to women's needs through their offers are more meaningfully differentiated amongst women than men. And what is more heartening is the role of women within the organization as well. A noteworthy mention here of Samba Financial Group that can boast of the first Saudi woman CEO leading the group in KSA. They are indeed an example of walking the talk. These are the 5 key themes that we are seeing have enabled brands to succeed. You have also heard from the leading industry experts on how they are doing their part to win in the market. You possibly knew most of them, or at least some of them. But the key is that they are critical to success, and no brand can afford to ignore them.
Thanks a lot, Aruna, for taking us through the 5 themes for successful brand building. We will now be taking you through the rankings. But before I do that, let me share with you what the methodology and the key findings were.
First of all, let's understand the criteria we've used to arrive at the brands in the top 30 ranking. Only brands that originated in the UAE or Saudi have been considered for the ranking. All these brands have their financial data available in the public domain, and all of them are consumer-facing brands, not corporate brands. Underpinning Emirati and Saudi BrandZ Top 30 is an extensive quantitative research across the UAE and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This research helped us capture how strong the brands are in the consumer's mind using our validated brand equity framework. Our starting point in the brand valuation was to arrive at the financial value created by the brand based on published data. This is the proportion of the total dollar value of the parent company that can be attributed to the brand in question, considering both current as well as projected performance. We then take into consideration the proportion of this financial value that is directly driven by a brand's equity. Brand contribution is the ability of the brand to deliver value to the company by predisposing consumers to choose the brand over others and or pay more for it based purely on perceptions. We exclude the proportion of consumers who choose the brand for reasons other than this predisposition. For example, those who are attracted by price promotions or a particular prominent display, etc. Such purchases are not due to the brand's equity and so are removed as part of the valuation process. The financial value when combined with the brand contribution, gives us the final value of the brand. Before we look at the top 30 brands, let me take you through some key highlights from the valuation work. The total value generated by the top 30 Emirati and Saudi brands is $50 billion. That's higher than the GDP of Jordan. What we also see is, like most developing economies, infrastructure brands dominate the top 30, with telcos and banks accounting for 70% of the value. There is a massive gap between the top 5 brands and the rest, with the top 5 accounting for 50% of the value, or $25 billion. This is something we've observed in many other markets as well. Let me give you a glimpse of a very interesting analysis that we did. I'm sure you all have heard about people being classified into generations, like Gen X, Gen Z, etc. Now, what if we looked at brands through the same lens and classified them based on their year of origin? That's what we've tried to do to understand which generation of brands have created the most value. We observed that value creation is not a function of age of the brand, unlike in humans. Younger brands are creating more value because of the fact that they have more distinct and diverse personas and are better at meeting consumer needs.
And here it is, folks. The moment we all have been waiting for has finally arrived. Here are the top 30 most valuable Emirati and Saudi brands.
يسعدنا في STC تلقي هذا التنويه كسمة تجارية، وهذا يدل على شيء، يدل على الجهود المبذولة خلال السنوات الماضية إلى ما تحقق اليوم من خلال بناء شخصية STC وسمتها من خلال مجتمعها. والأهم من ذلك هو محدد لنا ومؤشر يجعلنا دائما أن نحاول أن نتفوق على أنفسنا ماضينا قدما لما فيه خير ومصلحة إن شاء الله مجتمعنا وبيئتنا واقتصادنا. شكرا لكم.
Shukran and Mabruk, Mr. Mohammed. A big congratulations to you and to STC for winning this prestigious award of being the most valuable brand in BrandZ Top 30. I would also like to congratulate Etisalat and Al Raji Bank for being the second and third most valuable brands in this inaugural edition of Emirati and Saudi BrandZ Top 30 ranking. Also, a huge congratulations to all the brands that have featured in this prestigious Top 30 ranking today, which is a big, massive achievement, keeping in mind that we went and measured more than 340 brands in this piece of work. We'll be revealing the special awards very shortly, so stay tuned and don't go away. Before we do that, let's take a pause and reflect on what all this means for us as brand builders. We know that a big brand does not always mean a strong brand. And where we've been successful today, that doesn't guarantee us success for tomorrow. So what strategies can you deploy that will future-proof your brands? To answer this question and many more, we are joined today by our keynote speaker, Nigel Hollis. Nigel is the Chief Global Analyst in Kantar and has 30 years of research and consulting experience in the brand and communications arena, with the true forte for making the complex easy. He has authored and co-authored a number of books. His first book, The Global Brand, takes a close look at the challenges facing the marketeers and global brands and shares best practices to help aspiring global brands achieve success on the world stage. His next book, Brand Premium, details how to create strong brand and generate financial revenue growth. This book won the 2015 Berry AMA Book Prize as the best book in marketing. Nigel works with global teams in Kantar to address client needs of all things related to marketing and market research. So Nigel, let me hand over to you and let's understand what's required to drive brand-led growth.
Hello everyone, my name's Nigel Hollis, and congratulations to all of the top 30. It's a great achievement to be included with this amazing set of brands. A strong brand is a real asset. It not only helps generate more income, it also helps a brand be more resilient in tough times. I'm calling you today from a little town called Woodstock in Vermont in the USA. Normally, I would love to be with you, but of course, there are certain restrictions on travel these days. But anyway, to be with you virtually is a great privilege. And today I'm going to be talking about what we can learn from BrandZ about brand-driven growth.
So without further delay, let's see what BrandZ tells us about brand-driven growth. Most of the data and findings shared today have focused on current brand value and brand strength. To close the session, I want to have a quick look at an analysis based on over 5,000 brands measured across a 3-year time frame in BrandZ to see what it takes to grow a brand over time. The brands come from across many different countries and categories, but I will link the findings back to some of the brands featured here today. The first finding should come as no surprise to anyone. Brand growth is rare in established categories. As we heard earlier, even the Gen Z brands in the ranking have an average age of 16 years, and the Boomers and Gen X brands much longer. It takes time to build a brand. On the left of this chart, that we see only a tiny fraction of brands manage to grow bought last or chose last by even 3 percentage points over 3 years, less than 1 in 10. Of course, the flip side is that only 1 in 10 declined by that much. This confirms that in most established product and service categories, growth is the exception, not the rule. This is why disruptive innovation is so important. It provides the opportunity to shake things up and provides a reason for people to switch brands. Now, looking to the right, let's focus in on the brands that grew or declined by 5 percentage points or more. One of the most notable differences between the two sets of brands is that the brands that decline tend to be much larger at the start of the time period than the brands that grew. It points to the fact that a big brand is not the same as a strong brand. There are many big brands that owe their current position in the market to things they did in the past, or because they have big marketplace strengths like wide distribution, which make them the easy choice. However, that does not guarantee that they will remain big or grow further unless they are also a desirable choice. First, let me confirm something we heard earlier. Current brand salience is not a growth predictor. One of the challenges in looking at the relative strengths of brands is that people usually say good things about the brands they use or brands which are familiar to them. In order to really understand brand strength and what helps brands grow, we need to strip out the influence of brand size, which is what I've done here. On the left, we can see brands that declined in red and brands that grew in green. Now, big brands have high salience because they have lots of users, more distribution, higher marketing budgets, more clout with vendors, and so on. This ensures salience is high now, but it doesn't necessarily help the brand grow in future. You can see that salience is consistently higher for the brands that declined in the next 3 years. When it comes to meaningful, meeting needs and being liked, there is relatively little difference between the brands that grew and brands that declined. Meeting needs is table stakes in most categories, and most people like the brands that they use. But if you look on the right, here we can see that difference is the difference maker. The brands that grew over time start off as consistently higher than the brands that declined. Does this mean that salience is irrelevant to growth? No. Let's explore the growth dynamics a little further. On the left, we see an average cross-section of the data we just looked at. Brands that grow tend to be stronger than expected on difference. So is that it? Create a difference and grow? Not so fast. Our work is not over yet. On the right, you see the change in the different metrics over time. Brands that grow take their difference and make it more salient and more meaningful over time. They reach out and influence potential customers and encourage them to research and buy the brand. So the simplistic recipe for brand-driven growth is create a difference, then make it salient and meaningful to more people. And that implies reaching out to new customers and consumers through effective marketing. And let me be clear, when I talk about difference, I do not just mean product or technology innovation. I mean innovation in all its forms. Customer service, go-to-market strategy, brand purpose, marketing communication. While some brands might need tangible differentiation in order to change people's perceptions, others will be able to make a difference with something as simple as a new marketing campaign that resonates with potential consumers. But I did say that was the simplistic recipe for growth. How your brand is perceived today dictates how you can best build brand-driven growth in future. Most of our strong brands started off with a relative strength compared to their competition, so they already had an advantage. Some were more likely than expected to be perceived as different, tending to be a slight majority. They were setting the trends or unique to the category. Some were meaningful, meeting needs and liked, and some more salient. But the interesting thing is how perceptions of these brands changed over the following 3 years as they grew. Brands that started off with existing strengths on both difference and meaning, the strong brands, simply grew salience. They amplified what they already stood for and brought more users into the franchise. However, brands that were strong on difference or strong on salience alone tended to lack meaning. In other words, potential users didn't see them as functionally or emotionally relevant. In order to grow, these brands highlighted or created the necessary relevance to encourage new users to choose them. Those that were not already salient also improved their mental availability compared to the competition. Brands that were already functionally or emotionally relevant but weren't differentiated saw their profile change as they highlighted or created perceived difference from the competition. And that's what we see with some of the brands that we have reviewed in the top 30. Obviously, all of them are valuable brands, but some are stronger than others, and all have the potential to grow further. But to do so, they need to play to their strengths and fix their weaknesses. Very quickly, let's take a look at some of the hypothetical growth paths for 4 different brands. Let's start with Cafu, a brand that is perceived to be very different and which would benefit by helping more people to see how the service might be relevant to them. We saw that Emirati is a very meaningful and different brand, and in which case the main task is to amplify that and make the brand as salient as possible to a wide audience. Mobily is meaningful and salient, but not well differentiated. How can it best create a perceived difference compared to the competition? In the USA, T-Mobile successfully pursued the Un-carrier strategy to remove pain points from the mobile user's experience and contrast itself to AT&T and Verizon. And lastly, Almarai is hugely salient, which means it's the obvious choice in many categories, but can it better build meaningful differentiation in order to command a higher price premium? And now I'd like to finish my section with some brief takeaways. If you want to build brand-led growth, you need to understand how people perceive your brand today. Do they feel good about it? Do motivating ideas come to mind when they think about it? And is this likely to move them to action, to search for and/or check out your brand, to buy it for the first time? One of the most important findings from all of Kantar's work looking at brand equity over time is that difference is the difference maker. We see that in the data I shared with you here. We see it in relation to a brand's ability to justify its price point, and we see that it helps predict abnormal shareholder returns. But difference alone is not enough. In order to grow, effective marketing needs to showcase the difference in a way that resonates with potential customers and consumers. For any well-established brand, where you are today dictates the right growth path for the future. As we've seen, while high salience does not predict growth on its own, when salience increases along with difference and meaning, it's an important growth lever. All brands should aim to grow their salience, to reach out to new customers, but some will need to do more than the rest. They will also have to establish their relevance and why they're worth paying more for. Ultimately, if you want to build brand-led growth, it's about walking the talk, not just talking. Too many brands invest in marketing, but then fail to deliver on their promise. Thanks for listening.
We now move to the special awards. The special awards recognise and pay tribute to brands that are excelling and outperforming others in the 5 key areas that amplify brand value growth. And the awards are: So the BrandZ Emirati and Saudi report, what's in it for you? Our detailed and rich report enables you to understand what the top brands are doing that is positively impacting their brand building efforts and generating strong ROI. And this ranking, it's no exception. Our extensive report covers not only the ranking, but also an overview of the categories included, a closer look at the 5 key themes we discussed today, as well as an extensive and diverse range of thought leadership articles contributed from across the WPP and Kantar family. You can download the full report on kantar.com and follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter as we continue the conversation. Any of your colleagues who were not able to make today's event can watch the event on demand. And of course, do reach out to your Kantar team for any questions you may have related to today's event. We started today from the premise that having a strong brand is one of the most valuable assets any business can have. A strong brand helps differentiate you from your competitors. It's a major source of shareholder value, and it ultimately helps protect your business from risk. Brands are becoming increasingly important to CFOs and CEOs. And when your CFO is as happy as your CMO, you know you're on the right track. Despite the dynamic times we find ourselves in, we have seen today that there are many brands in the United Arab Emirates and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that we can learn from and indeed be very proud of. On behalf of the Kantar and WPP team involved, shukran jazilan, thank you for taking the time to join us today.